What is going on, guys? We got a cool interview with the one and only Alex Barth today, talking a lot of Patriots. So if you're not interested in the Patriots or the AFC East, or really if you're not interested in football at all, probably shouldn't watch this. Not gonna lie, it's a pretty cool conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Run it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Barth, writer for the 985 Sports Hub, Boston Sports, and co-host of the Patriots Catch 22. Alex, I'm just gonna kick it off really just swinging here. Patriots made a lot of surprising moves when they cut down their roster. What happened in the quarterback situation there? Because they cut them both, and then they both passed waivers, and they brought them both back on. Is that like a situation where they're trying to emulate quarterbacks, but they wanted to give Mac Jones confidence? Why did they cut them both and then re-sign them both?
Because they wanted the roster spots elsewhere. I think they felt confident that both Bailey Zappi and Malik Cunningham would get through waivers, that they would be back. This isn't the first time the Patriots have done something like this. In 2021, when they cut Cam Newton and made Mac Jones the starter, they also cut Brian Hoyer, and Mac Jones was the lone quarterback on the roster for 2 weeks. They brought Brian Hoyer back on the practice squad, and they elevated him the first 2 weeks before ultimately giving him a 53-man roster spot again. And it essentially bought them an extra roster spot early on in the season in order to, keep some other players and continue some position battles. As we know, Bill Belichick likes to talk about September as a continuation of the preseason. So I think that's what you're seeing again. And after Zappi had a rough summer, I think they felt like they could get him through waivers fine and have him back. And I still expect him to be the backup here. But yeah, his rookie contract's gone because they felt they needed those roster spots elsewhere, whether that be on the offensive line where they're kind of handcuffed into keeping 11 players, whether it be the way they justified keeping 6 wide receivers, whether it was to add another special teams player. That was just how they chose to go about it.
Interesting. So me, myself, if you go back on the record, I've been a huge fan of Bailey Zappi. When the Malik Mania kind of was going on after that, I think it was against the Texans this preseason when he looked really good early. Are you buying into that, or are you completely in on Mac Jones and the Bill O'Brien situation we have going on?
It's funny. I've been the same guy on Bailey Zappi since he was at Western Kentucky. You can go back. I wrote in December of 2021 that the Patriots should draft Bailey Zappi to be the backup quarterback. And that's what I said at the time. I think this guy has the ability to be a high-level backup, somewhere between the 30th and 35th best quarterback in the league. Everybody's coming at me. What are you talking about? They have Mac Jones. They don't need to draft a quarterback this high. Because Mac had just had that great 2021 year. He's the guy. What are you talking about? They don't need to draft another quarterback. They're fine. They draft Bailey Zappi. Everybody gets annoyed. Mac gets hurt. Bailey Zappi comes in, wins a couple games. Suddenly now Bailey Zappi is pushing Mac Jones for the starting job to some people. Oh, Zappi's better. Oh, you got to go to Zappi. You got to give the team to Zappi, trade Mac. And I'm still sitting here saying the exact same thing. Bailey Zappi is a backup quarterback. And now I'm getting it from the other side. What do you mean, backup quarterback? Look at what he did. Look at it, just ignoring all the context. And then he had a rough summer, and I still say the same thing now. Bailey Zappi, to me, is a good backup quarterback in the NFL. I think his struggles this summer, he was trying to be more than that. Part of why I think he succeeded in those 2 games he did last year was he let the game come to him. He didn't overextend himself. Now he's trying to do all these things with arm slots and throwing on the run, and it's just not his game. And it's not surprising that it's not working. I get that training camp, the preseason, is a time for experimenting, and maybe he was working on that. The experiment failed. It's not his game. And if he gets back to himself, again, I still believe he's a good backup quarterback. But that's what he is. He's a good backup quarterback, but neither side wants to hear that.
Interesting. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Obviously, when we cut him, I was, Mac's obviously the guy. I know that. But I was still a little disheartened when he got waived because I definitely thought he was going to get picked up. You got teams like the Cardinals. They don't have an answer at quarterback right now. They're playing basically 2 low-level quarter. I mean, they're obviously in the NFL. They're pretty good, but they're not on the same level as a lot of the other guys. And both of them ended up coming back, which I'm interested, in what they're going to do. Obviously, they're talents. I like them from what I've seen. But why didn't Bailey Zappi land in another camp? I feel like he had that talent to be somewhere else. Was it off the field stuff? Obviously, I haven't heard anything off the field, but there has to be an answer.
There was a report from Doug Kyde of Nesson that he wasn't doing a great job picking up O'Brien's, not Doug Kyde of the Herald. Nesson's like 3 jobs ago for Doug. Uh, that he was having some trouble picking up the Bill O'Brien playbook, which makes sense. I think part of it too, you look around the league, no quarterbacks got claimed, and there were guys that were good this summer. Nathan Rourke in Jacksonville. You had Holton Ahlers in Seattle. And I know I'm missing a big one on top of Zappy, and I'm just blanking right now. But you saw these quarterbacks around the league that didn't get claimed. I think teams just don't want to claim quarterbacks this time of year because it's such a lost year. You've got to get that guy caught up on the playbook to this point, and it's not like you can sign him to the practice squad, and it's not really an issue. If he's on the 53-man roster, there's a chance he's going to play.
Right.
So you can sign that guy. He pretty much has to be. It's not like other positions where you're learning one individual thing. Quarterback has to know the whole playbook, every position, all 10 other guys.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to roster that guy if you claim him. You're not claiming him in the practice squad, but now he's going to be inactive for however long it takes him to learn the playbook. First month, the first 2 months, and I think teams just don't see that as worth it. So I don't know if it's a Bailey Zappi thing as much as it is just an NFL thing and teams not wanting to claim quarterbacks. The other one was Max Duggan in LA.
Out of LA.
The other quarterback I can think of. Yeah. So I think teams just don't want to claim quarterbacks this time of year. He reportedly had other practice squad offers, and that doesn't surprise me. But again, for him, if you're going to be on the practice squad either way, you're going to be the backup here. You already know the playbook here. There's no learning curve. It made the most sense for him to come back here.
I'm 100%. I'm obviously thrilled he's back in New England just for that slimmer of a chance that he does end up. And I know we're not on the same page there, but man, when he came in and he lit it up right away, I was thrilled. Speaking of, just kind of coming in and picking up the playbook, Pop Douglas made Peter Schrager's, whatever it was, like the biggest guys to watch this year as a 6th round pick. Is that real? I don't know. What are you feeling out of the Patriots camp? Like, obviously he didn't play. I don't know if he played at all in the preseason because he's such a guy already. Is the hype real? Should we be buying into Pop?
He played, 2 snaps? He played 2 snaps against Houston, and then I think it was like 2 drives against Green Bay. So He played very minimally. The hype to me should be real because I think they believe it. You don't bury a guy like that, a rookie 6th round pick who could probably use experience against NFL players unless you're really sure. And if he comes out of the gate slow, expect that decision to be revisited, burying him.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm buying it. I think he's the best route runner they've brought in, the best rookie route runner they've had since probably Julian Edelman, who wasn't, as a route runner came along later, but his route running's at a high level. I think he's a great understanding of the playbook. Him and Mac Jones seem to be on the same page. There's a clear path for him to play, especially with Tyquan Thornton now going on IR. They need that speed element in their offense, plain and simple. And he's the only option to give it to him. So I think the expectations are high for him internally. They're clearly high externally, and now we wait and see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. Another guy I'm looking forward to is Christian Gonzalez. Absolute. I mean, from what the clips we've seen coming out of Patriots camp, the first thing I said when I watched him, it was just some simple out that he covered, but so smooth. I mean, he just looks like he's gliding on that turf. Have you been there to see it in person? Is it like, I feel like, I know, so this is kind of like a 2-parter now, because I know you're talking about the 2022 draft, and we had like 10 picks or whatever it was, and we waived or cut 5 of them. And so people are talking about the Patriots draft, and I'll let you get into a little bit on why that decision was made. These guys look really good. So what's the situation with the Patriots draft and Christian Gonzalez?
Yeah, they certainly drafted a lot more high floor players this year than they did last year. Guys who you knew were going to come in and make an impact. A guy like Tyquan Thornton, a guy like Cole Strange. Those were picks for even a guy like Bailey Zappi. Like, those are guys you're trying to develop and improve. As for Gonzalez, yeah, I've been there in person. I mean, going back to the combine, I think just the fluidity with which he moves is what stood out to me as such an elite trait. You're seeing it show up in man coverage. He's still kind of learning how the Patriots zone coverage system works, but he's been pretty much as advertised to this point. And Keon White's been excellent. I think he was their best rookie this summer. And we haven't seen a lot of Marte Mapu because he was recovering from off-season shoulder surgery for most of the summer. But everybody on that defense, all the veterans, speak super highly of him. So it feels good. I don't know that we ever felt this good about last year's class. And that's not to say the hopes weren't up at times, for individual players, but they never gave us a reason. They were never collectively this involved. Tyquan Thornton got hurt early. Cole Strange was always going to be a starter. He was a first-round pick, but remember, he ended up getting benched a couple times last year. Tyquan Thornton got hurt early. It took them a while to get Marcus Jones involved on offense and defense. Same for Jack Jones on defense. Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris never really played as rookies. Sam Roberts just played on special teams, so you never saw it. Whereas now, you project forward, Christian Gonzalez is going to be a starter.
Yep.
Keon White, if he's not a starter, he should be a guy that plays at least 50% of their defensive snaps. Marte Mapu's a 3-down player. He's a guy that should be in that 60-65% usage rate range. It's very clear where Demario Douglas is going to play. We talked about that with the speed. There's guys here who are going to contribute and are going to contribute right away, and that's exciting.
Yeah, no, the rookies look very good, and you said it exactly right. Like, it's just not something we saw a lot out of last year's team, and with all the new rookies on the field, I'll be interested to see kind of what the culture is in New England. I'll ask you about that a little bit more in depth in a second. But you going in that direction made me think of Zeke, an absolute veteran in the league, and we just signed him a couple weeks ago. What's he bringing to the team? Like, I know he said he fits in. I know he thinks he's a big part of that. Like, it all fits really well, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Obviously, that power back. Ramondre kind of splits reps a little bit, gives him a little bit more rest. I don't know exactly what the scheme is. If you do have an idea, then feel free to spread the knowledge. I'd love to hear it. But is this something where, because a lot of people were saying Zeke's fallen off, and I think personally there's a lot to when these guys come in and they're that veteran in that role. Like our quarterback, Mac, it's only his third year. Yeah, he's been around. Lord knows he's been through the rough stuff, but we just don't have that many guys with Zeke came from Dallas with a huge market, and he was Dallas for a while. What is Zeke bringing to the team? I'm excited to see what he can do, but off the field as well.
Off the field, he's definitely a player you can get excited about. A big name, big personality. I think he'll be a lot of fun to watch. On the field is kind of a question. Are they going to split him and Ramondre Stevens situationally, or are they going to split them by drives? So if they split them situationally, I think Zeke becomes the short yardage goal line back, multi-score games, late in games. He's going to be the guy that's eating carries, killing the clock, and probably plays a little bit more in the passing game against some teams that blitz more often or just have a better pass rush. I also wouldn't rule out them splitting it by drive, which they tried to do last year with Ramondre, Ty Montgomery, and Damian Harris before all their running backs got hurt.
Right.
And whether it's 2 Ramondre drives for every one of Zeke or 3-1 or 3-2 or however they broke it up, they have 2 guys who are pretty situationally versatile. They have 2 true 3-down backs. Ramondre can handle that early down back roll and passing down back roll, and so can Ezekiel Elliott. When you do that, your offense becomes a little less predictable. So that's somewhere I look at. That's something I look at, and that's a question we're not going to know until they start playing the games. But I think that's a pretty legitimate question around the running back room right now.
No, and running backs as a whole have been obviously one of the biggest topics this offseason. Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, even Eckler, which kind of got swept to the curb because it happened so early in the offseason. But I was happy with the Zeke signing. I didn't think we spent too much on him. I was a little disappointed in the D-Hop. We don't have to dive into that because it's past news and it didn't happen. But I was pretty thrilled with Zeke. I'll see what he can do. As far as wide receivers goes, I saw a tweet from you today that said Tyquan Thornton was you retweeted it. Tyquan Thornton was fine, but not at practice.
Devontae Parker.
Oh, okay. Yes, Devontae Parker. I forgot my notes over here. Gibberish, as you can probably assume.
Well, Tyquan Thornton went on IR today, and that happened around the same time. So I understand if there's a little mix-up there. We got both of those story, I don't know, within 5-10 minutes of each other, something like that.
Yeah. So is Devontae Parker? What's the situation? What are we doing?
I don't know. I don't know anything beyond what Andrew Callahan reported, that he's fine. Sometimes veterans get days off. That's what happens. Maybe he might have had a personal matter to attend to. It's easy to forget these guys live personal lives as well, right? They've got stuff going on with family and friends and things like that. Yeah. Maybe it was just a maintenance day for him. He, I believe, is the lone receiver, lone of the top group of receivers who took part in every practice in camp.
Hey.
No, that's not true. Juju did, but he missed a lot of the spring. So it could be any number of things. I'm not super concerned. If he's not out there next week, when they really start getting ready for the Eagles on Wednesday, I'll be more concerned. But given the report that's out there, I would be surprised if he misses any real time.
Yeah, no, that's good news. I love to hear that because we are going to need all the help we can get. Speaking of the Eagles, we have one of the toughest, and I say we, I'm literally in Ames, Iowa. I have to say this is awesome to get to chat Patriots football since this literally never.
Oh, Ames, Iowa. I could ask you 20 questions about Brian Ferentz.
Well, they'd all be negative answers. I tell you what, but man, nobody
Does
wants.
Does he get some 25 points a game?
No, kidding me?
Even with all those guys they brought in, even with half of Michigan's offense coming?
Doesn't matter. It's not happening. I don't know what to tell you. I'm honestly more concerned about our football team just as a whole right now, with all the gambling stuff that ran through.
That's true.
With so we've got a game Saturday against UNI, and I don't know if it's been announced or if I just missed it because it's going to be such a small name. Who's playing quarterback? So UNI is usually a give me, and it's not looking that way this year. But regardless, speaking of the Patriots, like this is just really a cool conversation to get to have. But like I said, that schedule is looking absolutely horrendous. I don't know if it's the actual ranked hardest or if it's in those top 5 or where we're at, but I know it's rough. Obviously, the AFC East took a huge leap. It feels like this year with Aaron Rodgers, Dalvin Cook to the Jets. The Bills have always been there, and then with Tua learning jiu-jitsu, now he can fall fine. Allegedly, probably gonna be fine all year. Not gonna get any concussions. So that combined with kicking it off against the Eagles, is the culture ready for that kind of a tough schedule? I don't know what your gauge is on the locker room, how bought in the guys are, if they're ready for this new Bill O'Brien led offense, or is it just gonna be one of those where we're picking up scraps, hoping to get to 7-10 and have a ready to go for next season kind of feel?
Kendrick Bourne said today that the new system is a big part of the reason that, he's been as excited as he has been this year, and he's been energized. And it's a good group. They're loose. I think they're having fun. I think they enjoy playing together. It's hard to tell until they face any real adversity. And maybe they had some just with what happened to Isaiah Bolden and the way that game ended. And I thought they bounced back from that well. So we'll see. But I definitely like the mental makeup better than I did at this time last year, because you could already kind of tell at this time last year things were sort of starting to crack. And no vibes like that right now. So I think they're in a good place now. If they get punched in the mouth by the Eagles and lose by 4 touchdowns, maybe things change. But for as much as we know to this point, there haven't been any concerns in that regard.
No, that's a really good thing to hear. I don't know what made me think of it, but I was just thinking about some of Edelman's been he went on the New Heights podcast and did a bunch of Bill Belichick impressions. So when you were just talking about like inside the facility, it made me think of Bill. I don't know if you've seen those, but they're so funny. I love the atmosphere that it seems almost like two-sided with just like outside it's real hard knocks and it's basically the Army is how it's been described, and then inside it's a little bit more lighthearted with him he's harping on people, but he's having fun with it. Bill, going into, what is he, like 75 now? Got to be pushing that at least. It seems like a joke, but that's real.
I think 71,
72. I want to say 71. But people are saying he lost his fastball after these last 2 years. Is that? I don't think that's the case. A lot of people crap on his drafts, especially with what we saw from the cuts and waves from the 2 years ago, whatever. And just the way Patriots football was played last year was not Patriots football. That's how it was described a lot. It didn't feel tight, prepared. It just felt like we were kind of getting thrown out there. What do you expect from Bill in the next 5-10 years? Because I swear, if he retires, I will find a new team. I don't know if I can handle that kind of thing going on right now.
I mean, I don't know that he's going to make another 10 years. You're talking about a guy coaching.
This dude's going to die in his coaching chair, though. You have to know that.
I don't know. I think you're probably looking at 5 years at the max, 3 to 5. We know he wants the Shula record. I think that's kind of the timeline.
Okay.
I think you hope that some of the coaching type things that have bothered him, they clean up. And I get it. You're going through a rebuild. You have a young team. There's going to be growing pains. But this is year 4 now of the post-Brady rebuild. And this is when you're supposed to really be on the upswing. So you look at the penalties. You look at the turnovers. You look at the mental mistakes they made the last couple of years it's for a while we just said, it's so uncharacteristic of them, they'll clean it up because we didn't really know what else to think. Now that's kind of become characteristic of them. is to sort of give things away in those settings. So you're looking for them to reverse that. Now a more veteran team, now a more veteran coaching staff. I think when it comes to the actual coaching of this team this year, that's a big point to look at. And anything beyond this, Bill's even said he's kind of year to year at this point. So I think you have to go year to year with him. But I do think he wants the Shula record. That's probably another 2 to 3 years. And then maybe he does a year after that as like a, I don't know, victory lap or something. Maybe he doesn't. But I can't see him going more than 5 years.
Is he going to pull a Megatron and just disappear? Or do you think he pulls more of like that, who was the baseball player I'm thinking of, played for the Yankees, does that actual victory lap with all the publicity? I can't see that.
Derek Jeter?
Derek Jeter, yeah.
No, he'll come back. He'll he'll be inducted in the Patriots Hall of Fame. He'll be inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think my theory's always been, and this is just me being goofy, I think he's going to go coach high school lacrosse somewhere.
Ooh. Lacrosse is big in Massachusetts, right?
Yes. Well, it's big in Massachusetts, big in Maryland, where he's from and grew up playing. But he's a big lacrosse guy. So.
Interesting. I never knew that. It's not very big here in Iowa, so it's not something we're super familiar with. Like, I know we've played it in gym and stuff, but when Notre Dame won that national championship this year and they kind of got a lot of pub, I just was like, damn, like this is like a real up northeast. Like this is really a thing up there. So actually that could be, dude, imagine though, you're like a ninth grader, you come in, you got Bill Belichick.
First day of freshman practice, and Bill Belichick's just standing there, yeah.
Oh my God. I would be shitting my pants, I tell you what. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's fine. It's kind of always been my thought on it. Like, I think he's going to do it, but also, yeah, there's going to be freshmen out there that he's drilling, and that's a funny image.
I'll be curious if he does that, how he handles them, because you can't. I don't know if you can treat them the same way you treat, a 3-year NFL vet. But okay, so let's pivot towards the AFC East. This is the last big thing I want to hit on with you. What are the Jets? The Jets have all the hype right now. I saw on Good Morning Football, today was like the first day I actually watched it. They were talking about what team has a bigger target on their back, Chiefs or Jets, and they were split on it. But the fact that they're even in that conversation, you would have said that 2 years ago, and you would have been like, what in the world is happening right now? So where are you at on the Jets? Rodgers didn't look perfect in his preseason game that he played week 3, but obviously they have Dalvin Cook. Like, you can go through name by name on all of the studs on offense and Quinnen Williams, Sauce on defense. Like, is it really – I know you don't report on the Jets, but, like, how scared are you and Patriots Nation as a whole of the Jets?
I mean, they have a ton of talent. They have a very talented roster. To me, it's about Aaron Rodgers' buy-in, and we know he's a guy that will check out and kind of arbitrarily. If they lose a couple games early on, does he kind of just delay it? And then they will be better than they were last year, but they're not that, they're not the Chiefs conversation. If he's locked in, they probably should win the AFC East. Ooh. I think they have a better roster than Buffalo. I think they have a better roster in Miami. Now, the playoffs are another story because it's Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. And who knows?
Thank you.
If he's engaged, that should be like a 12, 13, 14 win team. If he's checked out, you're probably looking at a team that's right around 500, maybe a little bit above 9, 10 wins.
Interesting, because I know a lot of people are saying, what did they go, like 7-10 or 8-9 last year, and they point to quarterback and they say, well, they got so much better there. How could they possibly do that again? And you're exactly right. That's the biggest thing that we saw in Green Bay. He will just seem to kind of be a shell of himself, not really leading the team. And I personally kind of think that was a fallout with the leadership in Green Bay, and that's kind of why that happened. So I'm excited to see if it's the new city, the new threads, the new teammates, everything going on over there, if he can keep that going, even if they do start, let's just say like 1-4, you would think he's still going to be, because he said he wants to play for more than a year in theory. So you don't want to completely just go to the dust week 5 and then play another 2 years. That doesn't really seem to make sense. Okay, so we're high on the Jets. Potential, you have a ceiling at 14 wins. That's actually crazy. I like them as well to win the division, but maybe 14 is what it takes because of the Bills. Bills are the reigning champs, and we had some turmoil with Stephon Diggs. Von Miller's hurt on PUP. Does he still have it? I don't know. Josh Allen's still slinging it. Where are we feeling on the Bills camp?
They're probably the most consistent team in the AFC, which sounds kind of crazy to say, but they're going to be between 10 and 12 wins, I think, period. And I think they missed their window. I think their window closed last year. Stephon Diggs is now 30. You look at the numbers of what happens with wide receivers when they turn. It's not like a gradual decline. Wide receivers turn 30, and outside of very few exceptions, right downhill. Josh Allen's extension is kicked in. That's kind of limited them from building more around him. Gabe Davis never evolved into that true wide receiver too. I think the loss of Von Miller is massive. When he got hurt last year, that defense was not the same. It was the same. And they're not now for at least the first 4 weeks of this year. And you kind of alluded to it. He's 33. He's coming off a torn ACL. Even when he gets back, what does he give them? So it doesn't mean they're a bad team. Josh Allen's still talented. Stephon Diggs is still talented, even if he regresses. They've got some good players on defense, but they did lose some. They lost Tremaine Edmonds. So I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. They should still be good. They should still be a playoff team, but they're not. I don't have them in that upper tier. I think the upper tier of the AFC is the Chiefs and the Bengals, full stop. And then you have, I think, and then you have teams like the Bills and the Ravens, and I know I'm going to miss somebody here, in the Jets. And then you go to kind of like the Chargers and the Dolphins, and then the Patriots are below that. So I don't think they're an elite AFC team anymore. I think they're a second-tier AFC team. That's still good, but the window closed. I think they had this really great setup, and it's kind of like the Jets too. This is what I think for the regular season. When you get to playoffs, don't you dare ask the Bills to win a big game, especially in the cold, because they can't do it. They've proven time and time again they can't do it. They fade late in the year for a number of reasons. So I think the Bills are, like I said with the Jets, like that win total to me is anywhere from 9 to 14. That's obviously a pretty wide range. 9 wins, you're scraping to get in the playoffs. 14 wins, you might have the top seed.
Right.
Bills, I think, are 10 to 12. They're either the division winner or they're the top. They're the division winner without a bye, or they're the top wild card team.
Okay.
I think that's who they are.
That's a valid, assessment. I just said yesterday, I think this is the last year for the Bills window, so I'm glad we're kind of on the same page there. And that was just more of a generous, like, given the benefit of the doubt, you guys were able to do a lot the last couple of years, so I'm with you on that one. So we've got, in the AFC right now, potentially Jets because of that wide range. So let's just say they're 14. Then we got the Bills. The Patriots sneaking in at 3, or the Dolphins going to blow up some Patriot cannons? I don't know where I was going with that.
I think the Patriots and Dolphins are kind of similar teams. A lot of it hinges on the quarterback, which does come in as somewhat of an unknown. Dolphins have more talent on the offensive side of the ball. Patriots have more talent on the defensive side of the ball, but it's that same thing. Both teams have a real chance to be like a 10-11 win team. Both teams have a chance to be a 6-win team.
Right.
And it's going to come down to health. It's going to come down to health and coaching, because I think Mike McDaniel, as excited as everybody wanted to get about him last year, I didn't love what I saw from him, especially late in the year. That playoff game, he can't get the freaking plays in. I just don't. I think he was in over his head last year. I'm not sure if he realized that or not. We'll see what he did to get better as a coach this year. So I think the Patriots and Dolphins are kind of in a similar standing. If Tua stays healthy, they're in great shape. Even I like the addition of Mike White as a backup, a high-level backup. That team needs one, but there is a ceiling there. And then with the Patriots, I do like Mac Jones to bounce back, but with him, they have a bunch of really good number 2 receivers, but they don't have that number 1 that Bills have or that the Dolphins have. That I think that puts a ceiling on it. So, I have those 2 teams in like that 6 to 11 win range.
Interesting. Okay, I like it. I would like it a lot more if the Patriots were atop that top 4, but someday maybe we'll get back to that. But I'll just ask you, kind of alluded to it really quick. Big teams around the AFC, obviously everybody knows, and we just named them off. Do we have a sleeper in the AFC that you're potentially keeping an eye on? Mine, I think, is going to be the Steelers, which is kind of ugly to say, but I don't know how in depth you're going on that. What are we thinking? Is there a team that's going to surprise someone this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a big Kenny Pickett guy. I don't know if the Jaguars probably don't count as a sleeper at this point, right?
Yeah.
The rest of that division is going to be pretty bad. The North, you got 2 teams that'll be very competitive, 1 team that'll be kind of competitive, and then the Browns.
Right.
Out west, maybe this isn't a sleeper. If the Chargers fire Brandon Staley, they should win the Super Bowl.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it.
That team has an immense level of talent on the roster. And the fact that Staley hasn't been able to get a playoff win out of it is damning.
It's crazy.
And they lose They lose that game to the Jaguars last year. Staley shoots them in the foot by trying to pick up a first down he did not need in 2021 in the regular season finale. I've said I think he's the worst coach in the league. I
Wow.
do believe that. And you look at the talent: Herbert, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. They bring in Quentin Johnston. They've got Austin Eckler, right, at running back. They've got a ton of talent all over that defense. Bosa, Khalil Mack, not Jalen Ramsey, other Florida State guy. Why am I blanking?
Is Jason
Derwin James.
Okay.
JC Jackson's back.
JC's there.
There's so much free. Christian Darrisaw at left tackle.
Just keep naming them.
There's so much freaking talent on that roster, and the fact that they can't get it done to me is a massive indictment on that coaching staff. So I always say I refuse to believe in them as long as Brandon Staley's there. That being said, the second Brandon Staley leaves, assuming it's this year, which it should be, I will be all in on that team because, again, they have good football players, and good football players will take you a long way in this league.
Interesting. No, I love that. I was also going to maybe look at the Colts because Anthony Richardson's been slinging it, but he's a rookie, and I'm not ready to buy in on that. With that being said, thank you so much for coming on, Alex. It's been a real pleasure to have a Patriots guy in on the program because, unfortunately, that doesn't happen enough. The co-host for the Patriots Catch-22 pod and the 985. Are you a writer for the 985 Sports Hub? What is this?
Yes, I write for 985thesportshub.com, and I contribute on air as well.
Interesting. All right. Well, everyone that's watching, look out for that stuff if you're a big Patriots fan. If you're not a fan, I don't know why you listen to this part of the pod. Appreciate you so much for coming on, Alex, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Barth. He had a lot of cool things to say. He was very versed in the Patriots. A little jealous he got to go see the joint practices and all of that. That's a pretty cool thing to get to do. I'm sure at this point he doesn't even care, but I would be thrilled to get to go and watch and talk about and write about the Patriots and just to get to see in person what Christian Gonzalez is skating around on the grass like and how Mac is slinging it and Malik, out there and Zappy. That whole quarterback situation is one that I'm intrigued to see. Well, I know he wasn't high on Zappy, but I personally, you're not going to find me saying I don't think he should be the starter. It's not that I don't like Mac. It's just that I do like Zappy, I guess. I love his style of play. He is right. He did kind of not do great in the preseason, in this summer, in the spring. Didn't really turn any heads. Malik definitely turned a lot of heads. So I'll be interested to see if there's a push for that number one spot. There won't be, but if there was, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, with that being said, today is August 30th, 2023, I think. And tomorrow is the 31st. Pretty sure. Does August have 31 days? Yes, it does. August does have 31 days. So, that being said, tomorrow is August 31st. Probably won't be a pod tomorrow. Thursdays are really busy. But Friday, we'll be back with more NFL news, more breakdown, and we'll see you guys then. Deuces.